Okay, so, boy, do we need Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Tishbi, Eliyahu Hagin, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Tishbi, Eliyahu Hagin. Bimhera yavo elenu Mashiach ben David. Bimhera yavo elenu Mashiach ben David. So, anybody want to know what this class is about? Can you tell me what this class is about? Redemption, prophecy. God. Process towards all those things. Redemption, prophecy, and God.
Clearing the fog.
Clearing the fog. Wow.
I feel like we're naming a movie.
Connecting to Hashem.
Connecting to Hashem. Let me just make sure this is working. Hello, everybody. Come on. Oh, come on. It is, right? Yeah, okay, good. Okay. So, please, Hashem, help us that we should know what it's like. I was talking to Rebecca before. We're moving towards prophecy. What do we do? What do we need to do to prepare? And does it make any difference? And like, if it's going to happen anyway, so what does it matter? So one of the answers is, of course it matters. Of course, if you prepare but if the degree that you prepare for a run or for a symphony or for anything you're going to do, the more you practice, the more than when it actually happens, the more ready you are, the more powerful you are able to experience the itself. So there's no question that the preparation of our days is the inner work, the recognition of the inner world of a human being, that most of us don't live in our inner world. We don't generate our lives in that inner place. It's from the outer layers of ourselves that we know better. From the lower stories, even to the extent that most people live in their own basement, they don't know what it's like to go up into their higher stories. And if they do, if it happens, but then there's no way to get back. I mean, there's elation. Everybody has some elation in their life. And the reason it's given to us is she'd know what it feels like. And then you should work towards it and make what was an elated experience in the past, make it your norm. Because we have to raise the bar each time. We're athletes. We're practicing for something important here. If we don't have a goal in front of us of where we're actually going, so we don't know what to do with ourselves. Like we're twiddling our thumbs and we're bored. There's no time to be bored. There's no time to be bored. Okay, so don't pressure yourself too much and don't push yourself in any unnatural way. But there's so much for us to do. Somebody said to me that there's a tzaddik somewhere in Netivot. I think I didn't get enough information. He said, "You're all dreaming. You're all dreaming. There's so much going on in the world. There's so much negativity. There's so much of the planning that's going on, the high-level planning, the low-level planning. The wicked are doing their job really well. And we're sitting here kind of just doing our thing and like, yeah, okay. Well, if I usually wouldn't say such a thing. I'm saying what I heard. I'm much more positive. There's much to do. And that what is being done already, we just need to do it more. We need to do more. And I call it the inner work, the avodah pinimi. To recognize and acknowledge my inner world, to begin to know my inner world, and to begin to know God in my inner world. That's the practice that's needed for preparation for prophecy. The prophecy really exists in a subtle form, even right now. So what we're going to try to do today is to give ourselves some of the markers, the landmarks, the signposts that we need in order to know what's up ahead, and to be more sensitive to its presence even now before it fully manifests. I'll say it again in different words. When talking about God, there's no such thing as past, present, and future. It's only us. We live within time. There are levels of consciousness that are in the future. But because we're talking about God, those levels of consciousness are available now. They're accessible now, at least to some extent. And so that's the work, is right now to tune into that, to attune ourselves, to sensitize ourselves to that which already exists. There's so much we can learn about this. So this week the emphasis is on getting the picture, getting a good visual and a good conceptual picture of what we're going towards. And it's really the theme of this whole class, which is the relationship between energy and matter, between higher spiritual states, which we can use the word energy, even though it's somebody might say to me, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't know how you're talking, you're using the word energy. Energy is a modern word that is used in science, it's used in the world. It means something to some of us. It's like love. If you have experienced it, then you know what I mean when I talk about love. Energy also is an energetic level of reality that's behind the physical world that we see. That's what I mean when I talk about it. So the process of creation is high energy, high temperatures, all the way down through many, many stages in coalescing into matter as we know it. Matter which hides spirit, it hides light. And then our job being the revelation of the light within matter, the Shemaim Ba'aretz, the heaven level of heaven within earth, and the drawing down of more heaven and the awakening of more heaven within earth to at the same time. And there's more awakening of the heaven within earth, the energy level within earth. Because if you know in physical terms, in terms of science, the whole idea of nuclear explosion is to release the incredible energy that is in matter in a destructive way. Anybody who knows more about it can tell me how to say it better. But that's what you see when you see nuclear explosion. You see the power that's packed within matter, unleashed. So taking that idea spiritual.
Energy is a condensed form of energy. Matter is a condensed form of energy. Look at that.
Matter is a condensed form of, as we see in this book here, this popular book, The Whole Shebang by Timothy Ferris. Matter is frozen energy. Matter is condensed energy. The same thing the Ari says of how we got a world that's physical is what science is saying now. But of course, the Ari is talking from higher, but the idea is there, and therefore we can put them together.
Sorry, what's frozen energy?
The idea is that they have these things in Europe. They're called. I'll tell you what I mean in a second.
Talking about the atom.
I'll tell you what I
One
mean.
in France, like they have in France.
1 second. France. It's Switzerland.
Switzerland.
Colliders.
Right.
Turn up the heat in the oven and you overwhelm the nuclear binding energy. The protons and neutrons in the atomic nuclei cannot stay together. You have wrecked the basic atomic structure and resurrected the state of the universe when it was a couple of minutes old. You can only do this when you get up to above thousands of...
So changing matter from one form to another.
Right. He says there's 4 levels of matter. The most is called solid, above that is liquid, before that is gas, and before that is what's called plasma. Not plasma in a hospital, but plasma is a state of matter that precedes matter as we know it. The sun is plasma.
That precedes birth.
No, not hospital plasma. It's
Birth of the what? Of the womb.
I understand, not hospital medical plasma, cosmological plasma. It's a different use of the same
So
word.
it's the same womb of the earth.
Okay,
Womb
of the creation.
Right.
Okay, so heating up matter, unfreezing matter, gets you back to temperatures that existed in the initial minutes or seconds of the universe, and that's what they're trying to do. Now, taking that spiritually is that we have been given mitzvot to refine ourselves, and together and also to refine the world. When we eat something, when we utilize something, when we take a piece of leather, that is to say, when we take the leather, the hide of an animal, of a kosher animal, and we make it into tefillin or a sefer Torah, either the box of the tefillin or the actual parchment of the tefillin, of the mezuzah, of the sefer Torah, we transform or with an ayin, as you all know, or with an ayin is skin, is hide, and you transform it into oraita, into Torah, which is light. So that's what we should be doing with ourselves. That's the process towards prophecy, towards geula. Right. So that's the general preface to today. Now we're going to go inside a little because we have some really nice sources, especially when we speak in the Malbim or in the other sources that I have here about the prophecies. First of all, the prophecies themselves. On page 3.
You need to leave with everybody. You got the train of prophecy. You need to specifically leave with everybody.
Excellent. At the bottom of page 2, we read last week, is the Ramchal, where he gives 4 stages of mankind. And you should see the 4th stage at the bottom of page 2. Did you see it? The 4th state is the very best. And this is the state that the prophets predicted for the ultimate future. This will be the time when folly will cease to exist completely. Ruach HaKodesh will be poured out on Kol Min HaEnoshi, all mankind. And that's based on a verse that we're going to see from Yoel, which is V'shpochet Ruchi al Kol Basar, I'll pour my spirit out on all flesh. So it's not, so even though the initial ones to receive it, especially in prophecies from Yecheskel, are Am Yisrael.
Yecheskel is Ezekiel?
Yeah. That Am Yisrael is going to receive it first, and we're going to be brought back to our land, and we're going to be able to purify ourselves. Zarakti alechem mayim toharim. I'm going to sprinkle on you purified waters, is specifically said to Klal Yisrael. But we see here, when it says all flesh, there's a number of verses in Yeshaya and in Yoel, that's all I know for the moment, that include not just Am Yisrael. So it's going to spread. It's not going to be an exclusive club. It's an inclusive club. Now, those who can't get, there are still those who can't get in. There's levels of tshuva that have to be done before, during, and after. And there's only so much, but Hashem has rachamim, He has mercy. The quicker, the sooner, the more powerful a person's tshuva, whether he's Jew or non-Jew. It's an absolute necessity to start the tshuva process, which is the unfreezing of the hardcore criminal, to soften him, to make him cry, to realize that he cannot do what he's done. He cannot take life in his hands. What's going on in the world right now? Taking life in your hands. Talk about taking life in your hands, killing people. It's all of history.
What about animals too? It's not okay.
Fine, but scale of
There are
values.
levels, but still, it's still not okay. It's life.
Okay.
Sorry, I mean like you know what's going on in Yellowstone Park where
Somebody wants to get in.
I left the door open.
No, you can't leave the door open. So, okay. But I don't want to go to the Yellowstone Park right now. Forgive me.
Okay.
Hi. Okay, so that was the Ramchal saying something very in answer to you. What's your name again? ZC. Okay, ZC. And there's always more, but I just wanted to be pinpointed for the moment. So back at the top of page 3. We'll go to the Hebrew soon. Our prophets and sages have told us the time is coming soon when the prophetic spirit will fill each and every human being. As one of my great teachers, Rav Nachman Bullman of blessed memory, used to say, our situation can be likened to a pressure cooker or a guy. What happens if you have the top on and then the fire is on the bottom and it's getting more and more pressure, more and more pressure, more and more pressure. At one point, it's just going to blow its stack. The geyser is going to shoot up really high because the more it was down, while the pressure was coming up from bottom, the more powerful will be the height that it reaches. So that's what he described here as the quantum leap in consciousness that's going to happen when Hashem pours his spirit on mankind.
Is that dependent on what we do or not?
So that's Rebecca's question. The answer is, somebody just came to the door, please forgive me, but I'm the one who sees them come. The answer is that how much you prepare now. And prepare means sensitization to the inner motions of your neshama. Sensitization to what's really with another person in a relationship. What's really going on. That's the best I can do right now in a short definition. That's sensitization. That is preparation for when it does come down, when it does whatever it does, break the top, shoot up, break, then you will be in a better position. Not because you know any secret words, or not because you know any secret formulas, or you're a part of a special club. No, the club is sincerity, integrity, responsibility, powerful things like that. Refinement, sensitization. That's the club we want to belong to.
Do you have another
And that will make the distinction of how you handle that energy when it comes. What do you want?
Another English copy?
Of course.
Oh, they're here. Sorry.
Okay, whatever, it's here. All right, so that's what Reb Bullman said. This is what Hashem meant when he said, I will pour my spirit out on all flesh, which we're going to see soon in the Hebrew is Va'ashpoch et ruchi al kol basar. Very important words. You should remember them. We should make a song out of them. Va'ashpoch et ruchi al kol basar.
So isn't that four-legged too?
All flesh, yes, actually I wrote about this today, that all flesh, including the uplifting of all animal life. We have a tradition that in Gan Eden, Adam was on the level of what we now call the angels. And then, as a result, he came down a level. The animals were on the level of where humans were, and humans were on the level where angels are. Everything came down. When Mashiach comes, or that whole spirit comes into the world, animals will go back up to where they were originally, and we're supposed to be going up further. It's just in order to get an idea, obviously. Some animals are now still on a higher level than most human beings. Whales, porpoises, etc., elephants. There's a famous story of a man who was an incredible what he did for elephants in Africa. And when he died, a herd of elephants came from 3 days away.
Wow.
Single file. Days they came and they outside of his house.
Wow.
Unbelievable.
Domain go to something inanimate to growing to animal.
We have
So would
to.
there
We
be
have to.
korbanos then?
What?
I know this is totally off topic. That means no korbanos then? I mean, you won't eat.
The initial third temple will involve korbanot. Remember when the Baal Shem Tov, we have a story from a non-Jew was alive at the time of the Baal Shem Tov, and many, many years later, one of the tzaddikim went to Meziboj to find somebody who was alive at the time of the Baal Shem Tov, and he found an old man. And he said, do you remember Rabbi Israel ben Eliezer, the Baal Shem Tov? Yeah, sir, I remember him. I can give a Scottish accent, a Russian, and whatever you want, but
Go
I'm
for
not
it.
doing any
Come
accents
on.
right now. I remember him, and I remember how he did Shchita Aho, he killed an animal, right? I don't know why I got the skittish thing. Okay, and he sat there in front of the animal, and he cried with the animal, and the animal had tears, and he had tears, and he took his tears, and he used his tears to sharpen, to test with his fingernail the sharpness of his blade, and the animal gave itself to him. So that just should give us a little insight of what it means that the temple was not just a slaughterhouse, certainly not like it is today. So we have to know that it was a very high level. Rabbi Kaplan writes about this in the Handbook of Jewish Volume 2, that it was a very, very, very sanctified level of animal and man together. There's a story in the Gemara about Rebbe, and that the sheep comes running up to him and comes and puts its nose in the folds of his glima, begging him he's on a rope and he's being taken to slaughter. This is after the temple. And Rebbe says, go, this is what you were made for. And Rebbe was for 12 years put in cherem in Shemaim. Hashem didn't like what he said. You have to have compassion. So there's definitely different sides of the story. But in the temple, there will be the initial inauguration of the third temple. There will be animal sacrifices, after which there will only be what's called korban todah, thanksgiving offerings. And then, as I write in my book, Spiritual Technology, the third temple is really a halfway house to Eden. It is not the end all of Jewish history, of all the history of the world. It's only an important stage where what's the temple mean? The temple is about raising up all of creation back to where it was and where it needs to be in order to raise it up even higher. So all of this is in my book, Spiritual Technology and the Well of Living Waters. I'm really into futurism. So I'm going to share that with you next week and the week after, also going beyond what the prophets themselves say and how that comes into the Kabbalah, the Kabbalistic text, especially by the Leshem Sholach Lama.
So the best story is a big gator who killed an elephant, and then the elephant died and fell on him, and he died. And it served him right. He was the korban. Shouldn't be killing elephants and as a trophy.
For sure. So that's the verse in Joel. And your sons and daughters will prophesy. Prophecy as a verb is with an S. Always remember that. You should know how to spell by now, right? Also, compliment. When you compliment somebody, there's a compliment with an I and compliment with an E. How do you know which one to use when you're writing? As I compliment you is I compliment you on the way you're doing something is with an I. We compliment each other is with an E.
Support.
We work well together. Okay. So here you have prophecy with an S. And your sons and daughters will prophesy. Your old men will dream dreams, and your young men will see visions. It's going to go beyond that. You're going to see it's not just visions. And I will place my Torah inside them and inscribe it in their hearts. A man will no longer teach his friend and his brother, saying, "Know God," for all of them will know him from the young to their elders. Then the eyes of the blind will be opened, and the ears of the deaf will be opened as well. I, Hashem, will transform the languages of mankind to a single, pure, evolved language, so that they may all call in the name of Hashem and serve him together as one. So we're seeing, if you want, you can, what I try and do is I put them in a progression. Then this will happen, then this will happen, that it's not, obviously not, we don't know. But there's a certain progression of refinement here as mankind begins to awaken. So what we want to do now is go to, there's some interesting stuff here, the rest of page 3 and page 4. But I want to go to the bottom of page 4. And I'm going to slow down a little bit now, okay? So the verse that we just read in Yoel, in Hebrew, at the bottom is Vayachreken Ishpoch et Ruchi. I will pour my spirit. And we understand it to be the spirit of Nevuah, of prophecy, but it's that we don't want to limit it. It's Hashem's Ruach. It's a huge thing, Hashem's Ruach. We see from the creation, the second verse of the Torah, Ruach Elohim, Merachevet al Penei Hamayim, the spirit of Hashem hovering over the water. The rabbis say the spirit of Mashiach. means to say that there's a guiding hand throughout all of history. We may not be aware of it until the end, and then it'll be revealed retroactively, but it's there. So Ruach is huge. Ruach in chapter 11 of Isaiah, I don't know if I have it here, you'll see Ruach a number of times. It's a very key word. Don't think you understand what Ruach is what I'm trying to say. The words are very, very, you can say that they're misleading, not misleading,
Limited.
no, they're
Limited.
no. The way we take a word can limit its meaning. That's the whole thing I brought out in Shavuot. Always said that Hashem, we talked about Hashem bringing an anan, a cloud, and we brought a fire, and a pillar of fire, and there was fire on the top of Sinai, and there was smoke. And we said, don't think it's smoke like you see smoke, and don't think it's a cloud like you see cloud, and don't think it's right anything that the words that are used there are so seemingly, oh, I'm familiar with that, and we take the familiar. But when you have to be aware, don't take any for granted. Let the word come and reveal itself to you. So we're going to do a little bit with Ruach today. We'll see. Okay. Top of page 5. The Mitzuda David on the verse that we just saw. So here is your Hebrew page. This is what we've been waiting for. This is what I like to share. This is now, you need more concentration, more focus, and this is where you get most out of learning is when you're dealing with the otiot, the holy letters of Lashon HaKodesh. Yes. So the Mitzuda says, and it will be that, and afterwards, after what? So he says, Acharei Yamim Merubim, it'll be after a long time that we didn't have prophecy, a long time that it was dry and the geyser was stopped up and closed. Bizman HaMashiach, it'll be in the time of Mashiach. What Mashiach is also has to be spoken about. Is it just a man? Is it just this powerful spirit that we're talking about? It's both. It has to be both. It has to be a human being who receives it, as we said last week. What did we call it? A lightning rod. Anybody remember that phrase? Mm-hmm. What's a lightning rod? What did Benjamin Franklin discover?
Electricity.
What did he discover in a storm? An electrical storm?
Mm-hmm. How to direct electricity.
You put a metal pole on your roof.
How to ground it.
Yeah.
You learn how to ground the energy of electricity.
Right. He learned how to ground it, because otherwise electricity, the lightning can
Will fry you.
So, however, I'm misusing the words lightning rod. To me, it means, and maybe you'll give me a better word for it, is that the Mashiach will be the receiver because of the work he's doing. I don't rule out that it's a woman. I always basically say that it's a man and wife. So when I say he, it's to the best of my understanding, but it doesn't mean it's not her. That's not talking about God. God is above gender. But Mashiach will usually, I would say, be a married man. Whatever the case, he will be doing the inner work that he's doing, purifying himself. And when it actually comes down, it will come through him to everybody else in layers. Those who are closest first and those who are farthest last. But it'll come down. Though that's at least the image.
You mean the current?
The current will come down. What we called last week in the words of the Ramchal, the keter of the Yechida. The level of Yechida, the level of soul that nobody has attained since Adam lost it. And Adam didn't attain it. He was given it. And that's why easy come, easy go. But Moshe attained Chaya, but he didn't attain Yechida. Nobody
What's
until...
the difference between Chaya and Yechida?
Good. There's a 5-level system, a basic 5 levels, and the highest 2 are called Chaya and Yechida.
So you're saying Adam was on a higher level. Moshe, the highest he reached, was still not, even though it was worked for, in a certain sense, Adam was
That's a
on
big
higher
difference, right?
But he was born into
It was on loan. It was on loan, right, by Adam. But Moshe attained, and that's why the Gemara in Shabbat 88 says that when Moshe went up to 89, Moshe went up to Shemayim, all the angels, after initially saying, "What's he doing up here? You can't give him the Torah."
Whereas Adam was
And then when he convinced them, whatever he did, says, "No, we need the Torah." Then they all gave him gifts, and it's a pasuk in Psalm 68. Alita lamarom shivita shevi, lakachta matanot Adam. So matanot, the angels give them, and even the angel of death gave him a gift, which was what?
Torah.
This secret of the Ketoret, which was used this last Shabbat with Korah. Moshe sent Aaron out with in his hand,
What's Keturah?
Keturah the incense, and he stood among those who were dying, and he stopped the plague. It's a huge thing. I write all about this in my book on the Keturah.
Incenses that we don't still have, like spikenard and some other ones that we haven't found yet.
The one main one that we haven't found yet is the Tziporin, and there's different opinions in the Temple Institute. They use cloves because the modern word for cloves is Tziporin, but it's still a mystery. I write all about this in my book on the Ketoret. I go into fully what the problems are and what we do have, and that Wendell Jones found 600 kilo of temple incense in Qumran, and that exists now, and we have that, and now we have other people now in his wake excavating that same area for what we feel are other things that are still there, that were moved by Yirmiyahu and Navi in the last
ritual items.
real stuff, right? That were moved by Eliyahu, by Yirmiyahu, Jeremiah, in the last 6 years of the first temple before it was destroyed, and were all removed from the temple and stored in a cave, and then they would cause an avalanche and close the mouth of the cave, and that's where Wendell Jones, God bless him, of blessed memory, wanted to discover some important stuff, and he did find the incense, but he wasn't able to find any more, and the work is being done.
What about the crystals of the breastplate?
That's a wonderful thing to find also, for sure. Yeah.
Because they're quite powerful.
Yeah. Okay, here we go with Maldin. Oh no, we're going to finish first the Mitzuda. Eshpochet ruchi. So how does he define it? He goes immediately to Rotzei lomar ruach chochma. It'll be a spirit of wisdom. V'hakarat elohut. And recognition and what is recognition exactly? Hakarat. It's usually used how? Intellectual recognition. And Chokhmah is usually made as intellectual. Now in Kabbalah, Chokhmah is much more than that. And Elohut is certainly something more than, right? But still, I feel a certain distance in the Mitzuda. It's still a little bit intellectual. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. So he says that Ruach Chokhmah, that spirit of wisdom, and that Hakarat Elohut, that recognition of divinity. In other words, people will say, "Oh my God, this God, Ashpoch al kol basar, I will pour that out on all flesh, Af ha'akum, even on those who are in the Gentile world, Yakiru, it should be a period, basar, on all flesh. Period. Ki af ha'akum, because even those who are presently idolaters and who are completely distant from the true faith, yakiru as, they too will recognize then, v'yidu, and know, intimately know, sh'Hashem hu Elohim. It's very nice. It gets better, the Mitzuda. You have to work with it. Who am I to say? Like one of my wife's stories from when she was in seminary, she said to Rabbi Elias, alav shalom, the head of the seminary, a Breuer seminary in Manhattan, the Sifse says, so he said to her, "You're not on first name terms. The Sifte Chachamim," the commentary on Rashi, the Sifse, right? So we're talking about Mitzuda. Okay. The citadel of David. he called himself. Now he ends off with V'nib'u b'nechem u'v'notechem, and your sons and daughters shall prophesy. Lo kemo b'mei hagolah shene'ederet hanevuah Yisrael, and it won't be. And he's doing a contrast thing. It'll be prophecy not like it was during the days of the exile, when there was no prophecy in Israel. Ne'ederet means it was lacking. It was
No, it says, "V'nivu b'nechem v'notechem," and prophets shall be your sons and daughters.
It's a verb, and they will prophesy. But I'm not against what you're saying, but it's more of a verb. But what's the difference? You want to say something?
That they will become prophets. That
Fine.
we will re-enter the era of prophecy
Good.
in a different way, in a different time.
Good. So remember what the Ramchal said, is that kol min enoshi, and also bili koshi, without any difficulty whatsoever, there'll be this
Upliftment.
Now the Malbim. Malbim is a little bit harder, and therefore it might take till the end of the class, although the Me'irat Tanayim below him, Rav Yitzhak Demin Akko, and below him the Nikuti Torah of the Alter Rebbe are so much I want to share them with you, but I can only, let's see what happens, okay? We'll do the best we
It's
can.
always next week.
Next week.
Yeah, but see, what happens with me between this week and
Right.
next week is all these other things come to. So I say, oh, here's 6 more pages. I can't. Okay.
You just have to get together every night.
Okay. Okay, Malbim. V'haya achrei chen. And it will be afterwards. Musav al masha amar sheyavo et. It's going on what it said, on what he said before, that there's a time that will be, a time is coming, yavo et, a time is coming, yidu, that they will know, et Hashem, b'yidiya berura. They, mankind, will know Hashem with a clear knowing. And knowing in the Torah, again, has a whole bunch of nuances. We know that Adam yada et Chava, Adam knew his wife Eve. Knowing means intimate knowing, connecting. So it's not just intellectual. Okay? Shashem yeh b'kirbam. Hashem will be in their midst. Now, in their midst means Hashem in our midst means one thing, but Hashem in you, and Hashem in you, and Hashem in you, and Hashem in you, and is also Hashem in our midst. But it's more specific. He's talking more general here. More personal. So I want to say it's both, but he's not saying it yet explicitly. He's just saying in our midst.
So question here, Fabian,
B'kirbam, in their midst.
as a group and individually.
That's what I want to say.
So when you
It has to
started-
be individual.
When you started Vayach Lechen, isn't that once upon a time?
No, and it will. You
But
understand?
it is once upon a time,
No.
it is now too.
It's a good point. It's very important. Wherever it's written the word v'haya, it takes the haya of the past
Right, but
and
so
puts a vav in front of it, which is called the vav ha'ipuch. It's not just a vav that means and. It's a vav that transforms past
into present.
into future.
Yehiyah.
And yihiyah is yehi in future. You put a vav in front of it, it makes it into vayhi, and it was. It's very, very simple.
And it was, and it is, and it always will be.
The Torah is constantly saying that the past and the future are interchangeable, but it's not telling you that it's only
But there
hinting
is
to
no
you.
timeline. It doesn't go like this, like this.
Okay,
It
so
goes
that's
like
what we're getting to.
this.
You're saying very good. That which was is that which will be, and it even is right now, but it's hidden. That's the whole thing, in a nutshell. Okay, but very important point. V'haya means and haya. It was v'haya. It will be. Next, v'shashem yeh b'kirbam. Hashem will be in their midst, and all the meaning that we put into that. Shochen b'shchina matmedet. He will cause his shechina to be constantly indwelling. Az shezeh yeh be'achar, and this will be in the end of days. Again, what does it mean? B'kirbam, Hashem yeh b'kirbam, shochen b'shchina matmedet. Very interesting use of words. He will be shochen, dwelling with or in the Shekhinah, in the indwelling presence, matmedet, unceasingly.
So it means he'll be in the neighborhood. He'll be in the neighborhood coming to you.
Yes. Yinabe ma sheyeh b'yamim ahem. Now Yoel is starting to prophesy of what will be in those days. Shebe'acharit hayamim shetirbe yediat Hashem, that in the end of days, which is an expression which it's in a sense, what does it mean, the end of days? It means before Mashiach, during Mashiach, or after Mashiach. What does it mean? It could mean all three. So it's a little bit open. Shetirbe yediat Hashem, that the knowing of Hashem will be increased. Lemata, below. Titar, gam, itaruta, dil'ela. At that same time, a awakening from below will be aroused. Yes. In the end of days, when there'll be an increase of knowing of godliness below, that there will be an awakening from below. So that awakening from below will trigger vayishpoch et rucho aleim. He will pour his spirit down upon them. So that's making it more dependent upon us.
So isn't that kind of like the tipping point?
A tipping point based on our inner work, which is not in the newspapers. It's in the movies, definitely in the movies. The movies are very deep, but it's not in the newspapers. The newspapers are definitely not where it is. But what I'm trying to say, the inner life is where it is. As I always say, it's not going to happen out there until it happens inside. And all of us, each one of us is going to start feeling something. And it's also called the shofar of Eliyahu, which is the shofar, which is the still small voice of prophecy that's there all the time, but is drowned out. It's what's called the background noise of creation in science, right? The background radiation of the Big Bang. All those things that they talk about have a spiritual equivalence. So what we're trying to get connected with is something that's there and has always been there and has never not been there.
Isn't he saying that the awakening is going to be coming from above?
He just said that the awakening is coming, there's a tarbe hayediat Hashem lamata. Tit argam mitorot, excuse me, I misread it. So there will be a desire, let's say, from below, and then as a result of that, there will be an awakening from above, and he will pour forth his spirit on us. I misread it at first. I said tata. So, but there is a lamata here. There is a lamata, which means a increase of knowledge and of knowingness of God, and that will trigger that Hashem will awaken from above and pour his spirit down. Then v'ishpoch et ruchi al kol basar, I will pour my spirit down on all flesh. Ruach Hashem kolel kol ha'ma'alot ha'nafshiot. The Ruach Hashem is a general word that includes, that's kolel, that includes all the soul levels, the levels of soul that are included in Yeshaya 11b, 11:2, which is what? V'nacha alav, what will come down on Mashiach is Ruach Hashem, Klaliyut, that's the general. Specifically, Ruach Chochma, Ubina, Ruach Eitza, Ugvura, Ruach Dat, V'yirat Adonai. Simple translation, will come down upon him the Ruach of Hashem, which includes the spirit of wisdom, of Chochma. Again, there's more than wisdom. It's definitely a, just to go into Chochma itself is huge, but all right now we're just going to say Chochma, and Bina and Dat. And he didn't say Dat, he says Chochma and Bina. This is also already a huge thing. That's going to be poured down from above on Mashiach. And then Ruach Eitza Ugvur is what to do with the Chochma and Bina, is the Ruach of counsel and the Ruach of strength. What's the common denominator between Eitza and Gvura?
Seems like Ruach is just the function to bring the thing to you, like Jewish meditation where he talks about the 5 levels of blowing the air. It seems to be just how it gets.
Seems like that maybe it's just a medium through which things flow.
Right.
But on the other hand, I wouldn't limit it to that right now. We're still in the classroom here of learning what Ruach is, and Ruach is Kolel, but it's also has all its manifestations. But what you want to do is to get that which is behind all the manifestations. So we'll see. And it says the last one, Ruach Dat, V'yirat Hashem. We don't know what to do with the words. Believe me, I can go in Rashi and Mitzu and all that on that. But right now, just again, have it be very, very open. We don't know what Yeshaya means. And so that we leave it as, please Hashem, allow us to know inside the experience of what he's talking about. If I just know the definition of the words, it might even prevent me from knowing what he really means. Yes.
There's 5 mentions of Ruach.
Yeah.
So
could
it be that really each Ruach is really representing, drawing down the 5 levels of Ruach?
I see 4. Ruach Hashem, Ruach Chochmah, Ruach Eitz HaGvura, Ruach Dat V'yirat Hashem. There's four mentions of the word Ruach, right? And you're saying then what? So that's Yoel though. Okay.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Okay, now he's quoting Yeshaya, and he's mentioning Ruach 4 times. What I'm trying to say is, we'll just be very careful how we learn a verse. We know that we don't understand it. The Malbim is just quoting it because he's trying to tell us that the Ruach that Yoel is talking about is a Ruach Kolel. It includes a lot of stuff. Now he's going to go and he's going to say like this.
Avraham, is this just poured down on Mashiach or on Kol Basar?
No, the verse in Isaiah will come down on Mashiach. But as we've said, he will be the lightning rod for everybody. So now back into Yol, al Kol Basar, for everybody. That Yol says the line that starts Yud Aleph Beit parentheses, period. Shekol Shefa, Malbim says, Shekol Shefa Ruchanit, Shetachul al Ha'adam Me'et Hashem.
Shetachul.
I'm going to tell you. What?
Shetachul.
Yeah. Shekol Shefa Ruchanit. Every flow or influence, spiritual influence that will Tachul means to come down and to rest upon. And there's maybe one other word in English, but for the language, that will come down and rest upon every spiritual influence that will come down and rest upon mankind from God. And then he's going to give a number of times he's going to use the word Bein, Yud Nun, which we're going to translate as weather. So you're going to see 1, 2, 3, 4 Bains. So we have to keep the thread for a second. Whether it's al ben al koach haguf b'gvura, whether we're talking about shefa ruchanit, spiritual flow, spiritual shefa that's going to come down on mankind, whether we're talking about koach haguf b'gvura, physical prowess. Okay.
Isn't shefa abundance?
It's yes, but it's more than abundance. So it's really something of a flow that comes down. That's no better word for it than shefa. Influence also, flow.
Mm-hmm.
Now, either it's a flow that has koach haguf b'gvura, physical prowess and strength. Also, whether it's al koach hamedame be'etza v'hash'ara amitit. It's going to be also helping people to have the power of imagination and visualization and counsel and estimation. Now, what's all the connecting links between those? Koach HaMedame is the and all of them are adjectived by amitit. True Koach HaMedame, the true power of imagination, amplified up to its most perfect form. Eitza, counsel. In other words, usually it's just advice or counsel. What's that have to do with imagination? And hashara is also the ability to estimate. So I'm not sure where the Malbim is coming from. I'm just doing the best I can with you.
Genius, imagination?
Yeah.
Vision?
Yes.
Understanding?
It said Biad Nevim Nedameh. I mean, That was,
Okay, medameh, but Eitzah and Hashara, I'm not sure why he says them here. Whatever it is, there's three words that are amitit, true, real. The third one is whether it's also al koach b'sechel chochma bina. He's building up from physical through good advice and the ability to estimate and judge things to now the power of sechel b'chochma bina. He's building up from the bottom that ruach, it's going to be poured out. The spiritual flow that's going to pour out on mankind is going to start from the bottom and go up to the level of chochma, sechel chochma bina, of powerful, clear intellect and expanded knowledge and consciousness and understanding. And also the last ben is whether it's shefa hanivuit, prophetic shefa flow, beruach dat, the yirat, the spirit of intimate knowing and awareness and reverence for Hashem, Asher Lamala Me'asechel, that transcends human reason. All of these, Yechuna, B'Shem Ruach Hashem, all of these are called Ruach Hashem.
But it goes back to the Shema. The Shema is not know, see, hear. It's hear and you will know. So you hear first the voice of the divine, and you know. It's not you see with your eyes, you physically touch anything. It's an inner knowledge that is part of the Shema, which is the central prayer of Judaism.
Baruch atah Adonai.
Amen.
I like that. I would develop on it. It's that he's going from the outside in. He's going from physical prowess to the ability to use your mind properly, to be able to have a more amplified level of that goes beyond human reason, and then even more than that, the inner level of prophetic knowing, prophetic experiencing. And then when you want to come from the inside out, it starts with a deep inner knowing, and it comes out and flows out into all the different aspects of your life. So
But
for
it's
the moment,
interrelationship from the
Yeah.
inside out and from the outside in.
well, that's what I just am saying, and I agree with you.
Mm.
Okay, so he ended off with that fourth ben, and all of these are called Ruach Hashem. Ve'az yishpoch rucho kol basar b'shefarav. At that time or then, he will pour forth his spirit on all flesh with a great abundance, a powerful, great abundance. Kishofech maim, like one who's pouring water. Shem mitpashtim b'chol makom. They're going all over the place. It's like pouring not from a bottle, but from a barrel, right? Just pouring with tremendous power, or b'chol makom, that's spreading out everywhere. V'yechasu et hakol b'shaveh, and it'll cover everything. B'shaveh, everything will be covered with this water of the Ruach Hashem, of the prophetic spirit. Everything will be covered. That's why Isaiah said, like the sea, like the water covers the seas. Ulam, however, and what we want to do here before the class ends is go beyond even what we've done so far. I want to take it to where I was able to get to when I was preparing, but I'm trying to do it within the Malbim. Ulam, however, b'kol zeh yehevdel b'nehem lefi achanatim b'kablim. This is an answer to Talia, an answer to Rebecca, who already left. It'll happen to be, all this will be dependent on a hebdel. There'll be a distinction among everybody who receives this ruach, lefi hachanatim b'kablim, according to the degree that the receivers prepared. Got it? That's what we were saying. Vehu, and this is the meaning of v'niv'u b'nechem u'b'notechem, and this is that your sons and daughters will prophecy. Ki yesh shalosh madrigot. There are three levels now included here. Hanivu'ah ha'gemura, total prophecy. Less than that is beit, is a chazon, which is vision, shehu lamata me'nevu'ah, which is below prophecy. Shira'eh machazot b'hakitz, you see visions while awake. Al yedei sheyichul hashefa al koach demyono, that comes, a shefa comes in and arouses and frees your imaginative faculty from its connection to physicality and uses it to give you visions, spiritual visions. So that's called chazon. 3, it's chalom, is the lower level, is dream, hatzodek, righteous, or a trustworthy dream, shulamata min shefa, which is below the first 2 levels, umi'urav bo ta'arovot tevin b'sigim yoter min chazon, and it has a little bit of admixture. Sometimes you'll see in a dream or things that really are going to happen. Ubezei yomar, and that's why now he says, shabanim ve'abanot hatzeirim, that the young sons and daughters, Shem Noldu Bedora Mashiach, who were born after Mashiach came, Hamuchan L'Ruach Elohi, who are already prepared from birth for the Spirit of God, Hem Yinabu Nevuot Gemurot, they will prophesy complete prophecy, because they're already born without the baggage that some of us are going to bring in. They're going to be the children that are going to be born, that are being born now, and even though it's not Mashiach time, but we see that a certain type of neshamas are coming into the world.
So beyond like the indigo kids that are being born, no, the crystal kids that are being born.
Well, we have our names for them, and they have, and everybody has their own name. But yes, that type of thing. The concept of indigo is that they're coming from different planets, and we don't have to hold that they're different planets.
But
They're
crystal
coming
are not from different.
They're coming from a different level of heaven.
Right.
The souls that were in waiting for the end of the 6th millennium from the time of Adam, and were not allowed to come in, and now they're going to start coming in, and
What
they
do
are.
we call them?
You don't have to have a name for it.
So this is not necessarily neshamas that have been here before and done tremendous work, and now they're prepared to come in at a higher level.
It seems that there's for this kind of question, Avraham, you have to go to the Ari and Shara Gilgulim and Sefer Gilgulim to be more specific. And then I can't give you a specific answer because he has a lot to say about this. Mm-hmm. How and when certain souls come in the world, and what the different categories of souls. It's an amazing subject. It's a wonderful thing to learn. I can't put it in one shot. Anyway, he's telling us, though, the Malbim in his way is how to separate a verse into meaningful parts and not just say, oh, it's just giving us general information. So that's why it's interesting to me. Whether we go by him in the end and everything he says, it's not the point, is to learn how to learn a verse. And then we go into Me'irat Naim, into the Chabad, which we're already getting close to not being able to do. Okay, so I'm finishing the Malbim. He says the second ones who are mentioned after the sons and the daughters who are born after Mashiach comes, the first word on the line is the third line from the bottom, Vazekenim, the elders. Shem noldu b'dor kodem, rochot midor Mashiach. They were born in the previous generation, and they were born already a long time before Mashiach. Lo yushpa lehem rak hachalamot hatzodkim. They will only get correct dreams. Shula matamina chazon, which is below visionary, and also, or the more so below nevuah, which is full prophecy. The bachurim, and the young men and young ladies, shem nodu gamkin lifnei, they were also born just before Mashiach, but closer to Mashiach. V'lidatam haya karov lizmano yoter min hazakinim. They're from the young generation. Very interesting what he's doing here is that the elders will come in and they'll have a lower level of prophecy when Mashiach comes than the babies and the teenagers. Mm-hmm. You see what he's doing? He's very, very interesting. Now, I don't have anything against babies and teenagers, but I know some Zakenim that will get a very also. So I think everybody will get what they work for. Anyway, he ends up by saying, last line, Hem chizyonot yiru. They will have a middle position. The teenagers will have the visionary experience, which he just says is that which is between prophecy and dream. Okay, it was interesting. Maybe you could think more about it, but it's something that we just wanted to at least present. The next thing is Me'irat Naim from Rabbi Yitzchak Dimin Akko, a student of the Ramban. He comes from a very deep tradition of masters. And he went to live in Akko from Spain. He went from Spain to Akko, and he lives in the later part of the 1200s, before the 1300s. And we have a number of texts from him. And when I met Aryeh Kaplan for the first time, my fiance, my wife Esther, we were engaged. She took me to meet him because she knew him at the time, and he was in his little office in his little room in Brooklyn, and he was going through microfilms from the Leningrad library that one of his students had brought to him of the Sefer Otzar HaChaim from Reb Yitzhak Dimin Akko, the Sefer by Reb Yitzhak Dimin Akko, on his story of that he went to Spain to meet Moshe de Leon in order to verify the Zohar that Moshe de Leon had said had been discovered and brought to him. And so he was doing that, and he put that in his book later on, a few years later, Meditation in Kabbalah. So he was looking at those microfilms from the Leningrad Library, which we now have. We have that book. For many years, we did not have that book.
Is this the same Reb Yitzhak Akko that deduced the age of the universe?
Exactly. Rabbi Kaplan wrote about it in a number of places, spoke about it. Rabbi Isaac of Akko.
Yes, Reb Yitzhak Akko.
Great Mikubal. Ki gam b'nei ha'adam, asher yizku lirot b'biat. Although also those humans who will merit to see the coming of the Redeemer, yit'alu b'ma'alah ha'gedolah, shelo tiyeh kamoto b'chol hadorot asher lifneihem. They will merit to ascend, yit'alu b'ma'alah gedolah, to a very high level, shelo tiyeh kamoto, that will not exist. Nothing will be like, there's nothing comparable to be, that will be like it in all the generations that will precede them. Those who will be meritorious to be alive when Mashiach comes will be lifted up to a level that won't exist until then. Ki'im b'yam suf u'b'ma'amad har Sinai. Only at the crossing of the Red Sea, when a shifcha ra'ah, Masha Yecheskel ben Buzi lo ra, when a maidservant at the sea saw more than Ezekiel saw later when he saw the vision of the chariot. And also even more so at Sinai when we saw what we did here before Shavuot, when we saw physical reality become an undulating energy form, and we saw that it's not like we thought it was, and the heavens opened, the seven firmaments opened, and we saw things that Hashem said, I need to, so to speak, go out of my norm here and show you things of what reality really is. As a result, we died and we got back to life, and then we died again, we got back to life. And the whole thing that we brought in this little booklet here that I brought in at the time, I still have a few of the Shavuot booklet, of how powerful Shavuot was and why it's encoded in our genes and in our souls, that is what really life is about. And then the curtain closed and we came back down. But we maintained and retained the Rishimu, the impression, and it's never left us. And every year on Shavuot, and every day when we continue to live that level, it's still there. So that level opened up at the Yam Suf, and even more so at Har Sinai, but never before. But that level will open up when the Geula comes, in a way that it had never opened up throughout entire history, except a little bit at Har Sinai and a little bit at Sinai. And I say a little bit because Rabbi Nachman says that even Pesach, Yam Suf, and Sinai were only little hints of what the final Geula will be. Because Hashem knew that we wouldn't be able to get through history without something to give us the strength to believe in Him despite all. But even they, as powerful as they were at the time, mamish, unbelievable. But compared to what's up ahead, not so much. Shirata shivcha miYisrael mashalo ra'a Yecheskel. And he quotes the Chazal that a maidservant at the Yam Suf saw more than Ezekiel saw later on. Third line after the parentheses, V'ayu kulam nevi'im bo'oto haperek. At that time, at Yam Suf and at Sinai, we all became prophets. At that time, ad she'achar kach paska mehem, and then it was taken away. It ceased. Aval limot Mashiach, but when Mashiach comes, Neymar said concerning that time, Mishpoch et ruchi al kol basar, I will pour my spirit out on all flesh. Lo tifsok, v'lo tifsok nevuah mehem. And from that moment on, it will never cease. Ketuv, as it is said in Yirmiyahu, we saw above, and no man will teach his friend or his brother, saying, "No, God." Lo yelamedu od ish et re'ehu v'ish et achiv lemordeu et Hashem. Ulezot ha'ma'ala nitavala Moshe Rabbeinu zal. And is this level, this incredible level of nevuah, which is again what we're getting towards here, is not just seeing a vision. It's my whole consciousness changes, and as my consciousness changes, the world changes. The more of the reality of what the world really is, the energy level of the world that's been there the whole time but's been hidden because we don't have the kalim, the instrumentation at this point in history to experience it on the high level of Eden. What will be taken away from us is the stuff that's preventing us, and reality won't change. We will change, and we will see the Edenic reality that Adam lived in.
The what reality?
I call it Edenic.
Oh, even life.
Right. So that's where I want to go with this, is that it's not just visions. It's not just closing my eyes and seeing something. It's a shared experience that we all have in a waking state. So I just had to clarify that. And I want to go back into the text that he says here. This is what Moshe desired. Nit avala Moshe. B'nivuat Eldad v'Medad. In Parshat Shlach. Yes, a week and a half ago. There's a whole thing what happened with Eldad and Medad. It's so amazing. You gotta. So they prophesied in the camp. They were too humble to go and to think that they were part of the 72. But Hashem's Spirit was poured out on the 70 plus these two, and they started saying things. And one of the things they said is that Moshe will pass away and Yoshua will take us into Eretz Yisrael. And then they also prophesied about the future into the time of Mashiach. That's in the Yonatan ben Uziel on the verses here in chapter 11 of Bamidbar. But Yoshua's reaction when he heard that Yoshua will take them into Eretz Yisrael and Moshe will die, Yoshua said to Moshe, stop them from prophesying. I don't want to hear such a thing. And Moshe's answer to him was, Meet and kol am Hashem nevi'im. Oh, that all the entire people of God would be prophets. Ki yiten Adonai rucho alehem, that Hashem would place His Spirit upon them. So he brings this here of Yitzhak Demin Akko, that this is what Moshe was talking about, this level of Mashiach spirit that we're talking about, which is the cold transformation of consciousness on planet Earth for all mankind.
So we're saying Eldad and Medad had that, were at that level, had that level of consciousness?
No, they prophesied, that means they spoke.
This would come about.
Now, when you go into a state of prophecy, there's more to talk about this, but it is definitely a very powerful experience. You know, Daniel fell on his face. He couldn't get up. Yecheskel also had some very powerful physical things happen to him. You can't just sit there while you're in prophecy. We described a little bit about that last week when Shaul was coming with his soldiers, and then he himself came and he fell flat on his face, whereas David and the others were sitting and Shmuel was standing. To be able to stand during Nevuah, you have to have the vessel for it. It means when you're standing in the Amidah, you're practicing to be able to stand in Hashem's presence. And there's ways to focus and to work on our focus and our concentration level, that our consciousness should be, so to speak, we should be the driver of our own consciousness instead of completely not there, which happens with most people. We have to be honest that we need to really learn certain things. Maybe that's what the last few classes will be like. I don't know if I'm up to it. I'm still learning so much myself about my own self. I bless us all that we can know how to stand in prayer and know that we are in another dimension, and that the thoughts that usually come to us should be, I don't know what to say. Okay. Just finish the Rav Yitzchak Demin Akko. That's what Moshe wanted. Right. Okay. Pirush, mi yiten shia me'ata. Oh, that it would be, that it would happen, so that even from now, that which in the future Hashem is going to do to Israel, for they, right? Oh, that it would be now what is going to be in the future. That's what Moshe's desire was when he saw that people were prophesying. The kan romez mashen shenibaha navi eshpoch et ruchi. And here, what Moshe said is hinted at what later Yoel said. So there's a level that I feel here in Yitzhak Demin Akko, that there's a level of Torah. There's Tanakh, there's the stories, there's the words. Underneath that is the spirit. And underneath that is the actual presence of Hashem. Now, the Torah is a repository for these deeper levels. They're not immediately revealed to us. Most people don't even know about them. But underneath, on the deeper levels of our souls, we can start to ask to connect to these things. Well, that's not too vague. We're not going to do the Likutu Torah. I'll let you go. You have to go. Yes.
The Yirmiyahu quote. What does that mean? Does it mean that man will not have to teach his brother
or his
to know
friend?
Hashem?
Right.
Will not have to, because they will have to.
There will be this lightning rod thing that we said in the name of Shlomo Carlebach. Hashem won't. And Moshe was the greatest teacher. Mashiach will not be the greatest teacher. Mashiach will not have to teach.
Mm-hmm.
He will his what he receives will then spread out, and then there will be a certain common level, and those who worked on themselves more will stand out, and there's always going to be a hierarchy depending on what I did and what you did. It's only fair. Hashem doesn't just. Yeah. So yeah, that's clarified a little bit. That the lightning rod concept, the flowing down, the transformation of awareness and of selfhood, the opening up of all that is hidden within us. So I want you to know to how to think about it, to open yourself up to it, because as I said at the beginning, it exists now. The prayer system was based on all these prophetic things that were the experiences of the prophets. The prayer system was based to take us up from the Korbanot to the Pesukei de Zimra, to the Kriyat Shema, and to the Amidah, so that we could stand in what's called Atzilut. But then we realized we didn't go anywhere. What do you mean Atzilut? Atzilut is just taking away the curtain that was called Beria, and the curtain that was called Yetzirah, and the curtain that was called Asiyah. Oh my goodness, we've been in Atzilut the whole time, we just didn't know it.
What's Atzilut in English?
It's the highest of the four worlds. It's an energy level of the kind of thing it would be time to talk about here, of what's going to be the norm as mankind awakens.
Rabbi?
Yeah.
Is this before or after Tchiyat HaMetim?
Oh, so I skipped over pages 3 and 4, which is all about Tchiyat HaMetim.
I read that too.
It's a zikuf aguf, purification of all physicality. I skipped over that today, but whatever. So we can try and clarify it.
I'll read again because I read
Okay.
it.
All right, thank you so much. As you see, I'm
Thank you
just,
so much.
I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm doing the best I can. Please, Hashem, help us to be the people that you want us to be.
But I know it's like 100 classes you said prayer is becoming aware that you're in the presence of Hashem. It's almost not fake until you make it, but it's almost envisioning we're at that time already. You're ready as if we were at Parsian or any other place where you might not really sense it truly, but you're trying to put yourself in a state where you're in that silhouette, or when you get to Amidah, you're just the fourth run. But is it just like I just can't put into words this type of discussion, but like mindset you're supposed to have going in? Is it?
Yeah, it's like, I don't want to have to make anything up. I don't want to try and imagine anything. I want to approximate the reality that's there. So the Baal Shem Tov helps us, and he says, you should clear away what's making you think you're just in the physical world. You should awaken your emotions and allow yourself to feel yourself in Hashem's presence, and then awaken your mind, and then stand in Hashem's presence in the Amidah, where you know that this is where you really always are. I'll show you the text that I'm talking about.
We're in Atzilut now. If you're in that, we're not in tune with it. That's all.
So yes, I actually take very seriously one of my friends, Avinoam Frankel, the one who translated and made a 2-volume set called Nefesh at Tzimtzum. He did a very nice thing. He said, he held up a piece of paper and he said, what is this? And everybody said, it's a piece of paper. He said, what is this on a deeper level? He said, molecules, atoms. Okay, very good. Deeper. Quarks, strings, very good. What is the real truth? Is it all of these, all of the above? It depends on what level you're looking at. It's relative. Atzilut is not somewhere else. It's something that we can at least hope to access. It's an Atzilutic level that's here. That's what I meant before, and I said the world is not going to change. We are going to change.
It's all internal, in prophets, it's all just going deeper within.
It's internal, but the internal then becomes the medium through which I now perceive the external in a different way. So that's a hard thing to communicate, and I hope that some of it came over, and I pray that it won't be, that it's not wrong. I really feel it deeply. So any questions you have, write them down, and maybe bring them in, because that'll help us to refine what we're trying to say here and really get it before we move on to the next thing.
So what you're saying is it's all here. It's all here. We're just becoming aware of it. It pervades everything.
The level of Ein Od Milavado, the level of there is nothing but God, is what's waiting for us to get there. It's been there the whole time. How we can experience it. If there's nothing but God, then how we can experience it. There's a way. And that's by building my plea now, so that when that level of revelation is presented, we won't be swallowed, we won't be damaged, we won't be destroyed. Hashem will allow us to exist in His infinite light, even if that seems impossible to us. The whole, as I've said maybe years ago, it's a circle. Hashem wanted to do something which is to reveal Himself completely, but He knew that if He does this prematurely, that nothing else can exist. So He reveals it only in stages. And He allows us to come into existence. And now He's going to start lifting us up, and He's going to lift us up and eventually bring us to the level where He's going to reveal more and more. But because we came down here and we saw Him during the period of concealment, and we recognized Him, and we served Him, and we knew, that's going to make the Kli, the vessel, that's going to be able to maintain existence even when He turns up the power. That's all I want to say right now. All right. Thank you so much. Anybody wants one of these? It's only on sale for, it's very cheap.
I used to